You are now entering the world of Musings of a Geek podcast network. Stay geeky, my friends.
Welcome to a special History of Bad Ideas podcast where we interview Michael Williams from Oomba. This took place at Gen Con over the August 14th through the 17th weekend, and please enjoy. Blake and Jeff with the History of Bad Ideas. We have a special interview with Michael Williams from Oomba, and here at Gen Con.
Well, hello.
How you doing, Michael?
So far, so good.
Okay.
Losing my voice a little.
Thank you for sitting with us and discussing it. We have your newest thing is the tournament management system. Is that correct?
Yes. It's one of those ideas that caught our brain and we couldn't shake it. And I find that, you know, as we describe the idea to people, they have the same reaction, which is, why hasn't this already been done?
Yes.
And we're very pleased about that because a lot of people want to see us succeed at the idea. And what is the idea? It's exactly what everybody thinks it is. It's like right now most tournaments are managed using paper and spreadsheets. We have the theory that why can't we have software that just does that stuff? And we had, you know, September 5th, 2012, I remember it as if it were yesterday, where we realized, we thought, you know what, all tournaments are basically the same. Why can't we create one unified tournament solution to solve them all? September 11th, 6 days later, we realized no two tournaments have anything in common with each other. Turned out to be a bad idea. Yes. and 2 years later, we're still struggling with all the little idiosyncrasies of all the different kinds of tournaments in the universe. It's crazy.
And because you can actually host up to 256 participants in the single and double elimination?
Oh, no. We're way more. Yeah, in fact, right now as we speak, we're trying to set the record for the largest rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock tournament in history. The current record is 2,826. We've crossed over about 1,600 people so far. We're only at the beginning of the third day, so we think we're going to make it. It's going to be close. The Guinness people will be here to, you know, approve or shame us, whichever way it goes.
Well, I hope it's an approval.
I hope so too. But yeah, we're designing the site to handle tournaments of any magnitude.
Okay.
My co-founder is one of my co-founders is Nolan Bushnell, the guy who invented Atari and also Chuck E. Cheese. Did you know?
Yes.
Did you know the same guy did that? I didn't know that.
We found that out. Research.
That was a good idea.
Yeah, I heard that Atari started Chuck E. Cheese. So Atari was the original founder of Chuck E. Cheese. A whole story there, I'm sure. But anyways, he was involved in a 50,000 person tournament in Germany, a big land tournament, and so we thought, okay, well, let's go for some power of two greater than that. So I think we're going like 64,000 person as our maximum target. But,
okay.
But you know, I mean, there's theoretically no limit. You know.
Now, why do you think it's taken so long for you, obviously, not for you specifically, but for anybody to step up and do an electronic tournament? Is it just...
I really do think it comes down to the mathematics are contrary to what you might first think. I mean, like I said, I seriously was a bad idea because it's easy enough to make a tournament system for a particular game. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like, I don't know, the Hex people who are sitting right next to us here. Hex is making their own tournament system, which will work with Hex. And that kind of stuff can be done because, you know, they know how their score is kept, they know what stats are important to them, and they can do that, and their community is fixed. But as soon as you try to get any two games that aren't made by the same maker, all of a sudden everything goes out the window. Now, I like to use a sports analogy. Imagine just tennis and golf, just those two very popular sports. How does tennis keep score? How does golf keep score? Tennis starts with the word love, then it goes to 15, then it goes to 30, then it goes to 40.
Yes.
Which somebody missed something there.
Possibly deuce if it's a tie.
Exactly. Oh, I forgot about deuce. Yeah, deuce and
deuce and
yeah, and then even how the sets are done, that you have to win by 2 matches unless it's a pro set, and then there's only 2 out of 3 unless there's a 5 out of 7, and there's some kind of crazy rules. And by the way, the USTA, the U.S. Tennis Association, has a different set of rules for tournaments than the Southern California Tennis Association. One allows pro sets, the other one doesn't. I don't even know what a pro set is. But then go look at golf for a second. Now, golf, it's the lower score wins, but they don't display it as a lower score. They display it as a +1 or a -1 or something like that, and they got this thing called par, and they have these things called holes. And you know, and again, I mean, just those two games alone have very little in common with how the rows, you know, and also tennis, it's one side versus the other. Golf, it's everybody against each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's kind of weird. And then, you know, and golf is usually done in a linear near. So there are players that are out playing while other players are still sitting in the clubhouse. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's very strange, and it just gets worse when the more you dig into it. Like I found out that tennis isn't even the original tennis. There's a thing called real tennis. And I'm like, oh god,
isn't that indoor stuff?
Yeah, it's
the walls
some kind of wacky,
exactly.
some kind of wacky indoor bouncing off a wall thing. And it's just, now what do? Do we call that one tennis? Do we call this one tennis? And I'm a lifelong board gamer. These are my people here. But I got to say, I said, you know what? We better do board games first, because board games are a whole lot less disturbingly weird, or they're weird in a way that I'm used to, at least.
You're at least used to.
All right, so then let's talk practical application. All right, you love board games. For example, I love Axis and Allies.
Oh yeah,
and about the only time of the year that I can do Axis and Allies is when I come to something like this at Gen Con. All right, so you'd be able to use the Oomba technology probably over the internet.
Yeah,
and be able to bring all these gamers together in like a tournament.
Well, I got to say it. So maybe not to get too philosophical, but I think one of the things that the internet has allowed us to do is those handful of us who play diplomacy, for instance, can find each other. Those 16 of us that are left, and we can find each other. We can get a 7-player game going, which, as long as I'm not Italy, I'll play. And Axis and Allies. I mean, I think I would play more Axis and Allies tournaments if I could find the damn things.
Yeah.
So if you're a game store host, you'd be willing to host an event. In fact, honestly, you flip it around. If a group of us want to do an Axis and Allies tournament, maybe the game store would let us use their tables if we could just plan it ahead of time.
Yeah.
I hope that our software can be used in that way, where I'm the game store guy and I have a certain number of tables and I'm literally renting the space using the site, and almost like a Fandango thing, that at 5 o'clock on a Friday I pull up my Oomba player app, which is going to be on the App Store sometime this week, and I can search through tournaments in my area, find one I'm interested in, click on it gives me directions to the tournament. I can register online, make sure there's still a seat for me, check in like it's an airplane flight, so let them know I'm really going to be there, and sit down and play whatever game has my fancy. I'm a huge fan of Wiz War. I was just over here talking to Tom Jolly 5 minutes ago. I don't know why people don't play more Wiz War. It's the greatest game ever made. and it's like, I would love to get a Wiz War game together, and how do I do that if I'm the only guy who knows what the game is?
And that's the biggest thing, I think, like you said. I mean, you can't find any of these because there's no main database online for it.
Exactly. Right, and that's the thing. So Hex, I mentioned earlier, they could have their site, and Wizards obviously has theirs, and maybe AEG is going to have theirs, and Spoils will have theirs. The thing is, by everybody having their own little fiefdoms like this, you don't have that one place you can go to find the game of the moment.
Right.
And I think everybody wants this. Now, mind you, there's a lot of huge competitive things going on. It is, after all, capitalism and business and stuff. So the way we solve that is we're free. We're just completely free. And we, Oomba, swear, I'll put my hand up in the air right now, we swear we will never conduct our own tournaments. We are simply the means for other people to conduct their tournaments. So we're creating a level playing field. Anybody who wants to use Oomba to run their tournaments can. There's no fee for it. We want to handle dues and entry fees. We'll take a small percentage, less than PayPal will, for that. But mostly we're about the advertising. We just want lots and lots of users, and we'll serve them ads, usually related to whatever they're playing. So if they're playing Dungeons & Dragons, for instance, we'll show them an ad for 20-sided dice, because who doesn't have enough 20-sided dice at this point?
Never enough. They always fail.
Exactly.
What is your favorite feature about it all? I know you've touched on a lot of it, but I mean...
Yeah. Oh, okay. I've never wanted to be number one until I saw there was a list of top 10, and then I had to be number one. So I'm one of those guys. What I love, and I'm a highly competitive guy. I just want my status to be recognized. If I am going to be the top player, or at least amongst my friends, because there can only be one number one worldwide. So I'd like to know not how am I stacked up against everybody. I want to know how I'm stacked up against my buddies, and I want to make it clear that I am in fact superior to every last damn one of them. They should just need to acknowledge my greatness, and I need a independent arbiter of that fact.
Saying it doesn't work?
So I've created my own company to create my own website, and all its sole purpose is to validate my greatness.
I know it's the social networking aspect of it or whatever.
Yeah.
But where I suppose you can do that, the bragging about being number one.
We literally have a button called brag. So, and by the way, the thing is, we have a counterexample in the form of Facebook. So Facebook has all these Zynga games. Okay, they were fun. It's over. Somebody needs to call Mark Pinkham and tell him they're done. No more of these. Thank you, or Pinkus. But the idea is, I don't want to hear every time my cousin finds another candy in Candy Crush. I'm tired of that nonsense.
I agree with that.
Right. So Oomba's got a policy where you cannot brag about it unless you're in the top 10% of results. And if you are in the top 10% of results, then you can hit the brag button and it will post it to your friends. You do have to hit the brag button. We will not do it for you, because that way your friends can say, please stop doing that. Nope. And by the way, you can turn it the hell off. I don't want to hear about your stupid results anymore. But I mean, what do we do as a people? Where do we spend most of our social energy? And for those of us who aren't in the gaming crowd, maybe we have girlfriends. But those of us in the gaming crowd, we mostly talk about our stats and our histories and our sports and whether we think this team's going to win or that team's going to win.
And the one time I did this on the game board.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have a button called cheer and a button called jeer. So when your buddy, says, he just got third place in so and such tournament, you can cheer it or you can jeer it and say, yeah, third place, big deal.
First.
Yeah, third is second loser, right? So, but it is cool. I think it is the most social thing we do. And why is there no place? Well, I mean, and again, I want to go brag about my results somewhere other than the fiefdom of the one site that cares.
Yeah.
I want it to be more of a social, wide open thing.
But also a connection, like you said, you can go out on Facebook, but nobody will care unless they're also into gaming. To be honest.
Exactly. Let's be honest. I don't necessarily want the people on Facebook to know that I'm proud of my WizWar result. I do have a career to consider, stuff like that. So yeah, it's in context better, which I think is a good thing. But also, it reminds me of one of my favorite features we've done. We have this concept called persona. You can create as many personas as you want, and your persona can be called anything you want and upload any headshot you want. So I'm an old RPGer, and so I can put my character Lazarus Kador or Asmiak Saterafon, and I can put them up there and give them a personality and post as them, enter tournaments as them, do everything, keep stats as them. And in fact, I could have my one persona that I play sports in, so I could deny my RPG friends that I've actually lifted a ball and tossed it once, or I can create multiple personas and play under it. Now, under the hood, the tournament organizers want to know that you're a real person and that you're not entering the same tournament twice. So under the hood, the host gets to see your real name and your real stats, but you can enter the tournament as the Black Knight. I mean, I think this is a tradition that goes back to jousting, which I think is the original tournaments, right? And you can be the prince entering as the Black Knight, and nobody knows that you're the prince. Blah blah blah. So I think it's really cool.
Now, with your background, because you've worked with Planet-Wide Games, I'm
a legendary computer guy in my own mind. Yeah. Nobody else acknowledges that but me.
How has that changed from when you first started? And I know that's kind of an open-ended question, but in terms of what has your experience helped you with getting to this point?
It can be said that what we're talking about here isn't original in the video game business. In the video game business, Xbox does a lot of this stuff, PlayStation does a lot of stuff, Steam or Xfire, or Congregate, they all have features like this, although it's kind of funny, but they really don't. You can't organize a tournament on Xbox, can you? No. There is not a generic tournament system out there, and I'll bet you there are people at Microsoft that thought about it. But as soon as they started going into it, they realized, holy crap, this is a lot harder than it seems. Oh, I'm telling you, they don't have anything in common. And it is one heck of a nut to crack. So, but I will say that, all of that video game experience comes to this because what we're doing is Xbox for the real world. But I'll tell you what I discovered, and it shocked me because I'm biased. I assumed everybody had a Steam account, everybody had an Xbox account, but it turns out the real world is actually bigger than the virtual world. And it wasn't me that came up with that. Bing Gordon, who's one of the founders of Electronic Arts, and he's currently at Kleiner Perkins. He heard our pitch for Oomba, and he pointed out that, how many people have, Steam accounts? And it's about 65 million. How many people have Facebook accounts? And it's like, oh, there really are more real people than virtual people. I mean, it's like, oh, I see it now. So it's like, so it turns out this may very well be the bigger market of the two. And there is no competition we can think of. There are some sites like ours in the video game side, like Battlefy.com. We acknowledge them as a competitor soon to be defeated. What's the other one? TO Pro. TO Pro makes some software that's really only for the host. What was the third one I was thinking of? Challenge. Challenge makes a bracketing site, although it seems like most tournaments aren't run with brackets. Brackets are actually kind of more of a tennis thing. It's less of a, it's really about pairings and matching, so I'm not too worried about them either. But yeah, we can't think of anything like this unless you guys know counterexample.
No, I don't. And once we started doing research and looking into it, I looked online. I could not find anything like it, and that's the amazing thing. And like you said, I didn't even think about Xbox and PlayStation. You can't do tournaments on it. I never. Even
I know. Everybody assumes it's just like it, but no. Actually, the one thing, the most important thing, is missing.
Yeah.
Which is the whole idea of arranging real-world events and tournaments.
And not to go into your future plans too much, but do you see the product going into possibly down the road Xbox or video game consoles or anything like that?
No, I got to say that we started off wanting this to be exclusively video games. I'm ashamed to admit that's all we wanted to do. And what stopped us was every time we approached one of the publishers, they all had the same reaction. We love this idea. As soon as you got 10 million users, we're on board.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, give us the permission to do this, and we'll get 10 million users. And one of my programmers, Brian Yinney, said, why do we have to have the permission of the publishers? I said, because we need to talk to their servers. We need to get results. Well, why can't the players just enter their own results? The players would hate that. I'm playing an online game, and then the thing asks me who won. That would be stupid. And he said, well, couldn't the players enter their own results? And I'm like, and it was like 1001, 1002. Holy crap, real world. And the first one immediately was board games. Oh my God, board games. They know they have to enter the results. They can't possibly already be there. And then it was like sports. Oh my God, sports. And then it was like spelling bee contest. Oh my God. And all the wacky, weird, beer pong contests and wife carrying contests, pickleball contests. It's like, and then when we get even one level deeper there, like one of the people we've talked to is Team USA Volleyball. The actual Olympic team is considering using us.
Awesome.
And the way they keep score is on these sheets of paper, 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, where you have to have a doctorate in volleyball scorekeeping because it is so arcane. And both teams do it on triplicate paper. Do you know what triplicate paper is, sir?
I do. I still remember. I'm old enough to know.
I actually still use some of it. So.
Oh my God! So they fill out the scores on these arcane pieces of paper. Then they tear off two of the three copies and mail it to Colorado Springs, where it is promptly taken by a woman named Mabel and stuck in a box. and the box is stored right next to the Ark of the Covenant. and then it's like, well, hold on a minute. What if I want to get my stats online? And we asked this lady, and she says, oh, honey, we're not in the record-keeping business. We're in the marketing business. Our job is to market volleyball. And I'm like, are you sure that's what your paying members of your league think your job is? Because I'm pretty sure they're filling out those forms in the belief that these stats are actually going into a database somewhere in the universe.
So pull them up and look at.
Yeah, they'll do that for a fee. If you pay Mabel, she'll go back there and dig through the boxes for you, but it's going to take 10 to 12 weeks, and it's going to cost you $1,000.
Oh my God.
But I'm like, and I understand too that the problem there, and we solved this, is that do you want to be Mabel who has to take those sheets and enter them into the database, probably on her CRT using her Data 1 terminal? No, you don't want to be that person. But here's the solution. What if the original score was kept on an iPad? What if it was never paper in the first place? What if the very active keeping score was digital from the beginning? And what that does is it puts the information straight to the cloud. Now what's interesting is we had this idea. We built the generic iPad app for general scorekeeping. It ain't easy. It wasn't trivial. And it will be available on your iPad App Store any minute now. It's not actually there now, but it'll be there any second. Meantime, we started calling tournament organizers and saying, hey, why don't you use this new system we've created? And they all had the same reaction. Yeah, that sounds great. What can you do for live streaming? I'm like, no, you understand, we're doing tournament management and stats. Yeah, what do you do for live streaming? and we're like, wow, there seems to be a really big demand for live streaming here, and we thought, well, we better provide that solution, because, being the entrepreneur I am, when they ask me, do you guys do live streaming, the answer is yes, of course we do. And then I hang up the phone and I say to my team, guys, do we do live streaming? Well, then it turns out there's a correlation between the two, because when you see a live streaming event, say football on TV, what do you expect to have on top of the video? You expect to see the score and the stats in real time. So we have connected the two dots. If you use Oomba to keep score, and you're also aiming a camera at it, we have the live streaming stat feed where you can put the stats on top of your video in real time live. And so we've connected these two things where that's actually pretty damn exciting, because I'm one of those geeks that will sit and watch a Magic tournament streaming all night long. Yeah. I want to see, oh my God, he should tap that character. What the heck did he do? Like, oh my God, why is he not playing that card? I love that stuff. So it's really cool to be able to get that, the hidden pocket camera, and simultaneously see the stats and so forth feeding over it. I just think it's amazing.
We appreciate your time. It's been great.
I'll tell you what, it's very energetic talking to you. I really hope. I love you guys. I hope this takes off.
Well, I pray this isn't a bad idea that you're going to be writing about soon.
No, it's not our bad twist on it.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
So thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it.
You are now leading the world of Musings of a Geek podcast network. Stay geeky, my friends.